Welcome, my dear ones. This is Tracy Anderson Askew, your host for the Transform Your Birth podcast, changing your mind about birth one story at a time. Each week, we'll be exploring a birth story through the lens of what birth can teach us. I'll be digging deep into each story so you can learn what it is that can change the way a birth unfolds. We can't control birth, but we can influence it. So listen in to find out how. Enjoy. Grace is a single mother and enjoyed the support of her mother to give birth. She began her pregnancy being in denial about giving birth because she was scared. Her mother convinced her to do the Transform Your Birth course, which helped her to get the information and understanding she needed, and she loved doing the practices. Late in the pregnancy, her baby's growth was a concern, which led her to being induced, but ultimately she needed a caesarean. After the initial disappointment and overwhelm, she is able to adapt and focus on what is important to her. She also shared with us what she asked for during the caesarean, which made all the difference. Another inspiring story about the mystery of birth. Enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome again to the Transform Your Birth podcast. With me today is the lovely Grace, who has given birth to Daisy about 6 months ago. Welcome, Grace. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Grace is a single mum, and I love having single mum stories on here because I know there's a few of you out there listening who are travelling down that path, and we've had a couple of wonderful single mums here. Tell us, how were you feeling about your pregnancy and what did you do to prepare?
I was kind of just not thinking about it, if that makes sense. I kind of thought if I didn't know too much, then I'll be fine. I won't get overwhelmed by all the information. So I kind of put my head in the sand, which probably wasn't the best idea. So my mum was like, okay, I've heard of this course and I feel like we need you to get prepared. Because
you talked about wanting to put your head in the sand, and there's a bit of intelligence to that, because I think there's two extremes we can go to. One, we can go into a decent state of denial. If we're even pregnant, we've got to get this baby out of us, and we can, like you're describing, put your head in the sand. The other extreme is we read everything, we listen to everything, we seek out other people's stories, and then that can create a whole lot of noise and a whole lot of ideas about how birth can go, which may or may not be helpful. So you came in a little bit in denial. What did you decide to do about that in terms of your preparation?
So thank goodness for my mother. She was the one who was like, we need to go to this course that, I've heard about. And I was like, skeptical. I'm like, I don't really want to go, and anyway, I'm so glad I did, because I got so much out of it, just breathing techniques, knowing that I can actually speak up and ask questions and say no to things. I wouldn't have known that. And I think after your course, I did a little bit more research, because I was like, I do want to know a bit more. And I think I do want to be a little bit more educated and hear other women's stories, and I don't know, just be more, how do I say it? Just be more in control of the whole process, because I just felt like I wasn't. I felt like, here I am, I'm pregnant, I'm just going to go in and get it done. Where I don't know, maybe I didn't feel like it was happening, if that makes sense. So after your course, it kind of made it hit me, and I was like, I'm actually having a baby, I need to prepare. So your course basically was the first thing that made me get my head out of the sand. So thank you.
That's good. It's good to hear. I mean, what I do really strongly is do my best to distill the information in a way that people can see really clearly what the path forward is. So it's not just focusing on all the different things that can happen, but focus on how to deal with it. And your breathing and things like that is part of the toolkit that we can use to help us to navigate whatever it unfolds on the day. So with the course comes a lot of practices. How did you go with the practices?
I really enjoyed it. I was like doing the breathing, I was listening to the recordings daily. I loved it. I was getting more into like yoga and meditation.
Yeah,
I was preparing. Yeah, I really enjoyed the practices. So that's why I was like excited. I kind of was excited to go into labor because I was like, I feel like I'm going to be an expert.
Oh, that's good. It built up your confidence. And
Yeah, it really did.
yeah, when you did the practices, what sort of changes did you notice inside of you, like emotionally? Because I think it's helpful to understand the practices are designed to help rewire your subconscious into a belief system that you can do it. The practices are also there to downregulate stress and to help you to identify any conflicting beliefs that you might have in relation to your ability to birth this baby. And so as you go through the process of doing the practices, and then you start to notice changes inside. And the way we typically notice is when we start to feel different. So you went from being in a decent dose of denial to feeling more confident. What changes did you notice inside of you?
I just noticed I was empowered and I actually believed in myself. Like I felt like I put my head in the sand because I just didn't want to like think about it. I didn't want to, where I was kind of embracing the thoughts that I was having and embracing like the fears that I was having, but confronting them and working through them. And I felt like the meditation made me be like, I can front this and I can feel this now because when I am in the labor, I want to be in control and I want to give birth with love, not fear. And that was, I think, another thing why I put my head in the sand, because I was deep down fearful about the labor. And I just feel like the meditations made me believe in myself. I trusted my body, I trusted my instincts, and I just felt really empowered. Like, that's probably it. I felt empowered, confident, and kind of prepared as well. So
beautiful. Well, my job was done then.
It was. It really
if I could set the scene for what I really love to happen for my families is to feel empowered, to feel confident, trusting in the Mother Nature's blueprint, and then knowing what to do if you need help as well. So, which is what unfolded with your story. So tell us about the day of the birth and how it unfolded.
So I was induced just because Daisy, she stopped growing or slowed down growing a lot. Like the last probably 35 weeks, she's really slowed down. So we were monitoring it very, very closely. So the day of birth, it was the day after my birthday. So I was induced at 6 a.m. and we were just in the hospital waiting around, and it probably got to about 5 o'clock and Daisy didn't really react well with the tape, they said. So that was kind of a bit of a game changer. So her heart rate started dropping a little bit every time I had a minor contraction. And so that was a bit concerning, but the Queanbeyan Hospital, they were amazing, the midwives. They kept me in the loop. They just said, this can happen. So they removed the tape. So they said that will probably settle it down and, your waters may break and then that will start everything. So they removed the tape and then my waters broke about 8 o'clock at night. And they were like, yep, this is great. But then after my waters broke, each contraction, Daisy's heart rate kept dropping lower and lower. So this went on and it was really hard because they were like, oh, you need to try and sleep because this is just, the warm up. Tomorrow it's going to be on and we're going to need, so you need to rest. So it was really hard trying to switch off because every time there was a contraction, the machines are beeping. I can see her heart rate dropping. So it was really hard to rest. So I really had to that's what my mum said, switch off, focus on your breathing, stop looking at the machine, let's just control what we can control, and that's you staying calm. So it was really good having mum there because she just no, don't even go there, don't even stress, don't even worry. So this kind of went on till probably 1:30 in the morning, and they were like, oh, she may be able to go through it, may not. Anyway, it got to 2:45 in the morning, and they were like, it's looking dangerous if we keep going down, that path of, a natural birth. So we're needing to do an emergency C-section. And I was like, and I just remember I was like, okay, I started feeling overwhelmed because I was like, I've been focusing on my breathing. I'm ready to do this. I've got all my tools. And then I was just like, no, stop thinking negative, because, I was going to have my grandma in the labor room as well as my mum. So it was going to be, really special. So I just thought, no, don't think about all like what ifs and negative, like the negatives of it.
Yeah.
And I took a big deep breath, and I looked at my mum and I looked at the doctor and I said, okay, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Because they were like, they said she probably won't make it if we keep pushing it, because you're in early stages, we're not even halfway, and if we keep going, it's not going to look good. So I was like,
Grace, so in Grace's story, this is one of the things that your carers pay a lot of attention to. One is making sure that your baby's growing consistently, because any indication that your baby isn't could be a reflection of the placenta and their ability to to stay alive. So that was good that they kept an eye on that. And then, of course, the other thing is, keeping an eye on baby during the birth process and understanding and learning how this baby's responding to this process of induction. So, Grace, you had to go through that. You were all prepped, you had your toolkit, you were ready to, to really give it everything you had. In that moment, when you first learned that you were now no longer going for plan A, you were now going for plan B, and you made that flip in your mind. Can you go back to that part and what was your thinking around going from the disappointment of, oh, okay, we're now no longer going down this path? How were you able to adapt? What was the mindset that you adopted in that space?
So in that space, like I felt overwhelmed, I felt anxious, I felt I could have gone the negative path, but then I thought, no, I do not want to bring Daisy in to this negativity and, feeling anxious, overwhelmed, stressed. I said, I'm going to give birth with love, not fear.
Right.
And also what you said, that segment where you said, if you buy a ticket to Paris and then, you end up in Dubai, are you not going to enjoy Dubai because you're still stuck on Paris? Like, and that's what helped me flick to being positive, because I'm like, okay, this isn't what I planned. This is not what anyone would plan. But when you want to give, when you want to have a baby this bad, I feel like all you want is for them to come out happy and healthy, right? And safe. So I was like, let's switch, let's stay positive. You're getting your baby that you've always wanted. Let's flick it, because she's going to come into an environment of positivity.
Beautiful.
Not this negative, stressful, anxiety ridden. I said, I still want to be in control of this process, even though it wasn't what I planned.
I love that. And I love listeners to hear this, because we don't know what's ahead. You're walking into the mystery. And as you gave that metaphor, I use the metaphor from Italy to India. Dubai, Paris, who cares? Same deal. But it's the idea that we can have a plan to go to Italy, find ourselves in India because the plane needs to stop and we can't get to Italy from there. But if you're sitting in India thinking about Italy, India's going to suck. And that's not, that doesn't serve anybody. And so the thing about India is it's an amazing place. You have to look a bit harder, because at the beginning it is a bit overwhelming. It's a very different environment to Italy. But when you dig deep enough, you'll find that there's some amazing delights in India. And so by flipping your mind to go, okay, we're going from plan A to plan B, we're now in India. let's make the most of India, is a really powerful metaphor, and choosing love over fear, because these are the parts of birth that we can control. We can't control what unfolds, but we can control how we think about it and what we choose to anchor ourselves to. And I'm going to suggest to you too, Grace, and those listeners out there, one of the things we have to appreciate is, you know, prior to going through that doorway into parenting, which is birth, we can hear stories and think, oh, I'd hate that to happen. Oh, I wouldn't want that to happen. And oh, that'd be terrible. When you hear, other people's stories and things like that, what you don't realize is that there's a bigger part of you called the mother. I call her the mother spirit, and she's a beast. She will do anything for her baby. She will go through any difficult situation to get her baby here safely. She is the bigger part of you, the part that's got her eye firmly on the goal, which is the baby. And the rest is just details on a medical form. It's not as relevant as it is of discovering that there's bigger parts of you that will be able to step up and overcome whatever comes your way. And we don't get told that a lot as women, and I get cranky about that. We get told, have the drugs and you're going to need them, and you'll never get sleep, and we focus on all that shit. But at the end of the day, we are bigger than what we realize, and this is what birth teaches us. So, Grace, you were able to bring your mother spirit to that situation to say, right, okay, I'm now in Dubai or Paris, whatever your destination ended up being. I'm now about to have a caesarean. I'm going to make the most of this. How did you do that? Tell us about that part.
I did. I'm not going to lie. My first instinct was to go negative, and think negative, and basically I just focused on my breathing. I kept telling myself I want to bring Daisy into a calm, relaxed, loving, environment and energy as well. So that's basically all I focused on was, she's almost here. I'm almost going to be able to hold her. And that just kept me calm. And also my mum with her little jokes, like she can tell when I'm feeling, a little bit overwhelmed and that. So having the right support person as well, like my mum, she just killed it. She just knew exactly what to do, when to do it without me asking or anything. So I think also having her there, and just putting everything into, I don't know, just seeing it for what it is. This isn't ideal, but you're going to have your baby, so how can you be angry or anxious right now? Like, you're about to meet your person, so just embrace every bit of it. So I just kind of focused on that and just the breathing really. But I think you just put it into perspective, right? Like, this is not what you planned, this is not what you wanted, but what you wanted was a baby. So I don't know, I guess that also comes from how I was brought up as well. It was kind of like, you just get on with it, and I think it helped having mum there, because she was like, let's just do it, let's get it out,
baby,
let's do it. So
tell us about the process. What was it like for you?
The whole process?
Caesar.
I actually found it really good. So I was at Queen Anne Hospital, and they were so communicative, to me. They just communicated everything, so thoroughly. They would they were just amazing. I cannot fault them. So I went in at 2:45. At 3, they were giving me the needle, and I didn't find it that bad. It was really good, because I asked, can we get photos of her coming out, and can we do this, and can we do that? And they're like, yep, that's fine. So they were really informative. They were asking me, how are you feeling? Are you okay? Is there anything that we can do? Or so I didn't find it terrible at all, to be honest.
What were the things that you asked for to make it special for you?
So I asked for music,
Right. Yeah.
which they allowed that. So I had Leon Bridges playing in the background, which was
Nice. Yep.
I asked for photos of her coming out, which we got, and I just made sure that Mum was right next to me holding my hand. So that was all good. And I also asked for, when the curtain comes down, I would like to see her. So all of that. And I also asked for umbilical cord clamping, so they don't cut it straight away. So I asked for that, and
so
they
delayed
did that.
cord clamping.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that also happened, and I found it, obviously it is very overwhelming. You go into a surgery room, there's people preparing, and there's a big buzz, so you're like, oh gosh, this is quite confronting and overwhelming. But
bit of a party, Grace.
It really was. I was like, wow, it takes this many people. Like, I was really shocked.
I often say to people, you one of the things you might be surprised about is how many people are in a caesarean. And I would encourage you to look at that and go, well, this is good news. This is all about me. They're all here to serve me and my baby.
Well, that's what I felt like. And
that's
I felt
a much better look, than just having one person there looking very worried and overwhelmed. We don't want that.
No. And I just kind of that's what I kept focusing on: breathing. She's almost here, calm, cool. Like, I just kept going that in my head, like, we're good, this is okay. And like, look, getting sliced open, I guess, is never, the best thing, but I didn't find it that bad. Like, I know people say, oh, I hated it, wasn't, but it happened so quickly. You hear your baby crying, and then that's what you're there for. So you feel you've done your job. Everyone has done their job. And now you have your bundle of joy. So just embrace this moment. And I loved every moment of it, because I feel like people get so caught up in the finer details and stuff like that, and they don't look at the end goal. And the end goal is that your baby's out and you've got them. So that's
it sounded like you were able to anchor yourself onto that. Focus on the baby, not on the process. This is just a different way of getting my baby into this world, and that it's okay. You chose to make it okay for you and focus on the right things. Yeah,
definitely. And I found it wasn't like, I know people say, oh, I really am traumatized from it and all of this kind of stuff. I didn't feel in control. But that's why I felt like, if you ask those questions, and just those simple, small things, like, asking for music or asking for photos or I felt like that gave me control of the situation, or a little bit more than just going in there and not having it. So I definitely can say your course helped me with that, because I would have never asked those things. I would have just gone in there, been like, okay. But I was like, no, I want to have a say in this, and I want to do it my way, even though it's not what I planned, but I want to have control over the C-section. So it was good.
I've heard women talk about their experiences of C-sections in so many different ways, and this is where it helps us to realise that the experience itself is highly, highly subjective. But when we can bring a frame of reference in to help us to realise, or to choose more consciously how we frame this experience, I think it can go a long way in helping us to feel good about whatever it is that we're dealing with. And so, for example, women often feel like caesareans have been done to them, that they've been anaesthetised. Sometimes their arms are out, and they can feel very vulnerable in that space, and understandably so, because on the surface that is a very vulnerable situation and place to be. And I don't want to diminish people's experience of that. That's very, very real and very, very true for a lot of women. The flip I like to do with it, though, is the idea that even though you might have felt a passive recipient to this process, you were anything but passive, because your whole body is the physiological vessel through which a baby's being born into the world through. And even though it looks passive, it's far from passive. It's the blood flow coming from your body to the uterus, which is continuing to feed your baby as they go through the process of, being birthed into the world, albeit through the sunroof, through a different doorway, but it's still a birth, and it's still a powerful moment of transformation and welcoming for this baby. And the hormones are still being activated. Your body is still the cushioning of the baby as it comes through that. And then, of course, hopefully skin to skin straight away, and I'll ask you about that in a moment. So whilst it can feel passive, if we can hold the frame of reference that my body is not passive, it's helping, it's continuing to work with the birth, not against it. It's continuing to be the best physiological version of myself that I can be. And by anchoring yourself to your ability to stay calm, like Grace did, is the key to getting through birth under all circumstances. So I really love, Grace, it's like you had a moment of overwhelm, and then you made a choice to birth with love, not fear. Okay. And then you made a choice to anchor yourself to your breath and to recognize and focus on the fact that my baby's about to come, and I'm going to just focus on the baby, which is that big mother spirit of you coming into the floor in that situation. Tell us about what it was like when she landed, because she was a bit little.
Yeah.
What happened?
So basically she came out with a big cry. So that was relief for me, just to hear.
Of course.
Crying. But then afterwards she needed help breathing. So she did go downhill, and she needed help for a good, I think, hour and 20 minutes. Yeah. So I actually didn't get to hold her straight away with skin to skin. Right. Which was a little bit upsetting, but then also I asked, could I be wheeled over, after obviously they finish stitching me up and doing that, could I wheel over and just put my hand in to hold her hand? And they said yes, that's fine. So I actually did get to have skin to skin. It wasn't the ideal moment, but just the moment that you do touch her, it just made it all worth it. I get about it.
Yeah, look at that. I can see, can feel that.
Yeah, it made it all worth it. And the whole process, I would do it tenfold, So
that's the mother spirit, people.
Yeah. And I'm just a crier, so bear with me. But it was amazing that they did allow that as well. So I feel like asking those questions, what made such a difference, because I did get to touch her before, an hour and a half, 2 hours, so and then when I did finally get to do skin to skin, it was, even better. But so look, it wasn't ideal from start to finish, really, but you just got to focus on the end goal, and that's all I can say. That made me experience everything so positively, was just she's out and she's safe and she's healthy. And I grew her, I delivered her, and it was really a positivity. And I can probably thank Queanbeyan Hospital as well, because the obstetrician, the surgeon, everyone just was so great and kept me in the loop, and and they were so just onto everything. Before when I was about to ask a question, is she okay? They were like, yep, that beeping is normal. That's just this. They were great. So they definitely helped.
Oh, you can't underestimate the power of kind, compassionate caregivers who are tuned in to the emotional state of the mother. Yeah. Because the emotional state of the mother is paramount, and all she wants to know is that her baby's fine. So by supporting you to know and understand what was going on would have gone a long way to helping you to stay calm in that space. Grace, what did you learn about yourself as a result of just going through pregnancy, birth, and now being a mum?
I learned a lot. I'm a lot more resilient than I thought. I can go through things and get through things, and even when they don't go to plan, you just hold it together and you get through it. I've also learned I'm more emotional. Definitely, like, and I just think, oh God, I'm a new woman. Like, you grow so much as a woman when you go through that experience. And I've learned the type of love. Like, I thought I've loved people and my family and stuff like that, but the type of love I now know I can give is just amazing. So I just think that it just changes you as a woman. Like, you just believe in yourself so much more, and you feel, I don't know, you're scared, but you I know you hold it together. Like, you just, I don't know, you just, it's just, I don't even know, it's just amazing, like the change of me. Like, I'm definitely more protective as well. So that's good. But just everything, you just grow in every single way. And yeah, and you just have your baby to thank for. Like, it's been a journey, but it's just, it's been amazing.
Wow, I love the way you've described that, because it just goes back to my fundamental belief that it's not the type of birth that matters, it's what gets activated in the mother.
Yeah.
If she's got things, tools, resources, things she can anchor herself through the choppy waters of welcoming a baby and the uncertainty, plus caring caregivers, which is what you had too, then that mother spirit gets born, and it's the mother in you that starts to help you to realize that you're far more than you ever imagined, and that growth is an inherent part of the process. And it can get interfered with when we're not treated kindly, not our emotional state's not respected, or we don't have the support that we deserve through this process. But your story is a beautiful one, Grace, because it didn't go in the way that you originally planned, even though you did all the preparation and the practices. But you were able to get through that, and not only get through it, but actually really step up as a mother. And discover incredible resources and things that you have within you. That's really a beautiful thing to highlight. Thank you so much for sharing that. What would you tell a pregnant woman?
Be gentle on yourself. We're our own harshest critics. Like, gosh, like, we are doing the best we can. And can I say, the best we can is the best for our babies. So just block out the noise, block out the bloody noise from everyone else, and go with your gut, go with your instincts, because you know your baby the best. And just embrace it, embrace the highs, embrace the lows, just embrace it all. So that's what I would have to tell everyone.
Lovely. That's a beautiful message to finish on. Thank you, people, for tuning in and listening again this week. I love stories like Grace's because it highlights that we can't control everything. It highlights that sometimes we end up in other places other than what we thought. We have to go from plan A to plan B, and sometimes even plan C. But it highlights also that we're not without resources, and that we can make that big leap from the woman into the mother by preparing well, being well supported, asking questions. Little things can make a big difference, like Grace highlighted in her caesarean, the things she asked for and was able to have as a result, still retains her sense of empowerment through that process. And choosing love over fear is a very, very powerful mantra. So there's lots of great juice in Grace's story, and I really appreciate you coming on board and listening to us again this week, and we'll have another great story for you next week. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Gracie, for being with us today.
That's okay. Thank you for having me.
Okay, see you then.
Bye.
This episode has been brought to you by Transform Parenting, an organisation that provides courses, coaching and community from pregnancy through to the first 7 years of a child's life. It is a place where you can learn, get support and grow into your role as a parent. Our Transform Your Birth course, both in Canberra and online, is waiting for you to feel calmer and more confident to give birth and change the way you labour. Or why not watch our free masterclass on Keeping Relaxed and Excited About Birth, where we discuss the 3 most important things that can change a birth. You'll find us at our website on www.transformparenting.com.au.